name's Chris Palmer. I'm a professor of English linguistics and literature working at Kennesaw State University. That's right north of Atlanta. I have studied and worked in a few different places. Grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Did my undergraduate in South Carolina. Did my doctorate in Michigan. And for 1 year, I taught and did many things with linguistics and writing in Hungary, and learned how different Hungarian language was from English. And that's part of why I've been so interested in English linguistics, is sort of learning how interesting the structures are compared to other languages around the world. The title of my book is Teaching Language Variation in the Classroom, Strategies and Models from Teachers and Linguists. And the idea of the book is we wanted a space for teachers and linguists to talk with one another about what's working in the classroom, what hasn't been working in the classroom. So one part of the book is actually just teachers writing about their own teaching plans, activities, challenges that they faced. The second part of the book is linguists talking about different ideas that they've tested with students or that apply certain theories in the field, thinking about best practices in teaching not just standard English, but also non-standard varieties of English in the classroom. And then the last part of the book, we thought was important to have teachers and linguists write together. So we have a few chapters where you see that collaboration, not just people talking about how they sort of co-developed lesson plans, but also they co-wrote the chapters together and gave a lot of those ideas. So it's a very practical book. It's very focused on how to apply things that students will get engaged in. I think another thing we think is really important is to remember that language is fun. And we often think of grammar as that kind of scary thing that you don't want to talk about. But when students realize that it's interesting that, I may say pop, you may say soda, and someone else calls everything a Coke, the students want to talk about those kinds of things. And if we can apply that to the other kinds of things we're doing in the classroom, with talking about literature, with talking about writing exercises, with talking about culture, we think it's a really important way to get students engaged in matters of language. One way this book stands out, we feel, is that there are a number of books out there that have great ideas about theories of how linguistics applies to the English language arts classroom. But many of those books don't include teachers' perspectives on how to do it, not just the sort of why I should, but how should I actually teach this stuff in ways that students are going to understand, that are going to engage them. So we were very practice-focused, very sort of practically focused in this book. It includes throughout a number of lesson plans written by teachers, but also by linguists, and in some cases linguists and teachers sort of co-developing those lesson plans and activities together. So we really think this is the kind of thing that teachers can pick up, see something that might work for their own classes, and then want to play with it and then adapt it for their own purposes. So we tend for the primary audience of this book to be secondary English teachers, and most chapters in the book give really practical advice and strategies for how to integrate, and not just add, but incorporate material on language variation into the kinds of lessons that secondary English teachers would use. But several chapters also talk about other types of audiences. So we do have, for example, a lesson on Pig Latin, and how Pig Latin could be used at multiple grade levels to get students thinking about language structure in some really fun ways. We also have chapters that are geared a little bit more towards the teaching of pre-service teachers and possibly in-service teachers. So this would also be appropriate for any linguists who work with teachers in any kind of educational linguistics courses. We think this will interest both linguists and teachers at different levels.